Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee. DJ Envy is on his college tour run with his daughter.
Yeah, she's getting ready for college, so
Yes.
they're visiting different schools.
And we got a special guest here, my man Roland Martin.
How's it going?
What's happening, my brother?
I don't think I've been here with all three were here at the same time.
I don't
Never?
like that you just threw your stuff on the floor. Let me.
What? No, it's fine. Baby, look, please. It's a scarf. That's a hat and a scarf. Ain't no big deal.
I see you with the 1906. Tell the people what that represents.
Well, you know, I'm a life member of Alpha Phi Alpha. So pledged spring '89, Texas A&M University. So
Okay,
so I always got to represent.
absolutely. I saw you going in on CNN last night in regards to Elizabeth Warren's town hall. You said you are not watching a network that will hold a town hall at an HBCU but has 0 black executive producers, 0 VPs, 0 SVPs, 0 EVPs, or 0 direct reports to
Well,
CNN.
damn.
I think you said?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists. I'm also a life member, also a vice president for digital. We put them on blast because that is a fact.
Wow.
And, you know, look, we are here, you know, we're the largest minority journalism organization in the world. We are about representing our members. And what happens is a lot of these companies, they want to talk about the folks who are on air. And that, to me, is the equivalent of sharecroppers. And my deal is, no, we also want to be in executive positions. We want to be decision makers. It makes no sense whatsoever where CNN, I remember in August of 2018, Soledad O'Brien, who used to work there, called them out because it was a story about them talking about the lack of diversity in the White House. She said, well, what about y'all?
Yeah, that's a fact.
And so our whole deal is, look, we are going to hold you accountable. And we've been meeting with media executives all across the country. On Monday, we met with ABC News. We met with CBS News a couple weeks ago, NBC News last week. We're going to be meeting with digital companies because we are here to represent our members in holding these companies accountable. And understand, 24 years, America is going to be a nation majority people of color. That means that Latinos, African Americans, Asians, Native Americans will make up 53% of this country. And we cannot be locked out of decision-making positions. And that's critically important. So they refused to meet with us because
CNN did?
Oh yeah. Because
That's so hypocritical that you can actually talk about the White House, but then in your own organization, you don't even have any diversity. So
Right.
you can't even throw stones at the White House.
Right, and that's the problem. And so the problem is no one reports on the media, and we see this all across the media landscape, where you largely have white men who are running these organizations. John Landgraf, who is the president of FX, got an award from the T. Howard Foundation a couple of years ago, and he saw that 88% of all of the directors of their original series were white men, and he said, okay, but white men only make up 36% of America. He said, hold up. He said, this is not the future. In 18 months, 57% of all the directors were non-white men. That's a CEO saying we have to change this. Al Newharth, who was the late CEO of Gannett, he said, we're going to be the leading media company when it comes to diversity. He said, I am tying your bonuses to diversity. And he said, and if you have a problem with it, you can leave the company.
Wow.
And there were people who were upset with him. He said, well, y'all got to go. But here's what it did. It changed. It forced the other media companies to say, wait a minute, we better figure out a plan because we're going to start losing talent. So the reason you saw this influx in the 80s and 90s of African Americans and women and Asians and Latinos and others who were publishers, general managers, news directors, because he said, this is what we have to do. And so we are challenging these companies to say, don't just hire us as anchors and reporters and contributors. Hire us as executives because we also want to be a CEO one day.
Yeah. Why did CNN not want to meet with y'all?
Well, they want to meet with us because of the whole town hall drama from 2016 when Donna Brazile sent one of my questions to Hillary Clinton campaign. I didn't do it. There were African Americans who I communicated with. And we were going over like, hey, what do you want to have asked? Donna should not have sent the question. I didn't tell her to. I sure as hell wouldn't have sent it. So Zucker is like, oh, he embarrassed us and all this sort of stuff like that. And we said, that ain't got nothing to do with NABJ.
Right.
That has nothing to do why you have no black executives. And so we said, fine, we want to meet with AT&T CEO Randall Stevenson. They now own CNN. And we're not going to relent. Our whole deal is we've met with every other media company with our leadership team. We're not going to sit here and play divide and conquer where, we will meet with everybody else but him. No, I'm VP Digital.
Right.
And I'm a life member, 3-time board member. So you need to sit across from the table. And that's deflecting. Mm-hmm. They sent an email to us saying, oh, no, your information is wrong. We have black VPs. We said, name them. It's been 4 weeks and we're still waiting. No, because we know, look, we're reporters. Yeah. You think I didn't have my facts together? Right. No. You have a VP of legal, a VP in sales. No, we're talking about on the news side. And so, and there's somebody who's watching, I've seen these tweets. They go, well, why y'all out begging these white folks for a job? Start your own. First of all, we have. But the other piece is we can do both. We want to be represented in executive level positions. And so people need to understand that's why we're here. That's what Dr. King did when he led Operation Breadbasket, when he launched that, which actually came from A. Lewis Sullivan. Reverend Jackson, of course, took it over as well. And so we've always advocated for us to be able to be a part of this system. And so we're going to make those demands. And we're saying that every other company out there, we're looking at your numbers and we'll be knocking on your door. And so my suggestion, y'all better go hire some black executives, because the last thing you want us to do is show up and then all of a sudden realize that we're going to put you on blast. And we're not trying to put folks on blast if they do the right thing.
Got you.
And they should want to do that, because that's reflective, like you said, of what the world is. And that's how you have better stories that's more inclusive and that makes more sense. Sometimes you have people making decisions and coming up with things behind the scenes.
Precisely.
And you're like, like what happened with Gucci?
These are the people, understand, these are the people who are deciding who gets hired, who gets fired, what stories are covered, how intense do you cover those stories. And that's the whole point. It's about being at the table to being a decision maker. And when you look at these media companies, I look at Deadline.com every day. And the question is, where are we? Mm-hmm. Are we there? No, we want to be in positions of power and influence. But here's the other thing that people don't quite understand. It's also capping our money. So if you're saying that I can only rise to the level of senior producer or maybe executive producer, let's say those positions are paying $150, $175. That means that that person who keeps going up, let's say they're making $500,000. Mm-hmm. Just do the math. So in 10 years, that person will have generated $5 million in gross income. But if I'm at the highest EP, and let's say it's 150, that means in 5 years I would have grossed 1.5 million. That means that your decision today not to elevate me has a direct impact on my children's children. So this thing is not about that one person and the job. No, you're impacting legacy. You're impacting lineage. You're impacting the ability to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to give $50,000 to this HBCU, or I'm going to support NABJ with a scholarship. But if I'm limited to 150, I don't have the same sort of financial flexibility as somebody else. And so I'm trying to get people to think far deeper than this. And in fact, see, when you on air, you might be on air 5 years, maybe 10 years, let's say 20 years. Mm-hmm. You got cats who are executives for 30 years.
Yeah.
They still getting paid at 65.
I'm glad you said that, though, because we have to encourage our people to want to be executives. I think a lot of time we see a lot of us as talent, and we think that's the way to be. But nah.
I went to Jack Case High School, Magnet School of Communications, and I was voted the best student there. And the person who was voted the best student there, who won the Ambassador Award, came back to host the banquet the following year. The following year, Paula Madison was the guest speaker. She was then the news director at KHOU TV. Paula later became WNBC news director, general manager, big executive, head of diversity at NBC, GE on the board. I mean, major position. She's not retired. Paula told me in 1988, we were in the parking lot at Jack Yates, and she said, Roland, the long money is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The short money is in front of the scenes.
Absolutely.
The power is behind the scenes. And so what happens is people, they say, well, man, but why are you on air? They don't realize. On air was never my intention. The first day as a sophomore in my high school, when we walked into our television studio, all the students ran to the set. I said to Mary Waits, the teacher, where does the person sit who tells them what to do? She said, they sit over there in the control room. I said, I'll be in the control room. Now somebody's like, yeah, but you've been on television. But here's what they're missing. I've been host and managing editor of the show. I've controlled the content. I've run 3 newspapers. I control the content. I control the hiring. So even though I've been on air, I'm also an owner. So with my digital show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, oh, you on air? No. It's my show.
Word.
It's my company.
Absolutely.
So it's not the on-air deal. For me, it's the ownership piece and the ability to be able to make owner decisions. And that's how we have to think. So you're absolutely right. We have to get people. It's just like in basketball. Mark Tatum is the number 2 at the NBA. Most brothers and sisters out there ain't never heard of Mark Tatum.
Mm-mm.
They say you've seen Adam Silver.
Mm-hmm.
The deputy commissioner is a brother, Mark Tatum. What I keep saying to us, if you want to be in the NBA, you don't have the ball to be in the NBA.
Right.
You can try to be Mark Tatum.
Word.
You can be an executive. See, Dorothy Cotton was the only black woman in the inner circle of Dr. King's SCLC. And she was over in their citizenship education program. And what happened was, if you wanted to work in SCLC, you had to go through this program. They would assess you. They would assess your state of mind. They would assess whether you need to be reprogrammed before you can go work in SCLC. I fundamentally believe that there has to be a reprogramming of black America.
Absolutely. We got to stop focusing on being employees and focus on being owners.
And that's holding the idea of even if you are an employee, I have this concept called Me Inc., where it's not I'm an employee, you're an employer. No, you're a client, I'm the vendor.
Yes.
It's the exact same thing,
Right.
whether you're an employee and you own the company, but it's how you look at it. So when you're inside of these companies as an employee, it's what are you learning? What are you gaining? What is your strategy in terms of being able to leave from here? What is my state of mind? And so for me, it's getting us to understand how we have to reprogram our mind and how we see things. You know, I've been talking about there are 8 black cable networks that target black people. That's 1,344 hours a week of content. Not 1 hour that is a news show. And when I say news, doesn't mean that, you guys on Revolt, you talk about news topics. I'm talking about a news show.
Like when Jackie Reed used to be on BET back in the day.
Right. Well, my show that was on TV One.
Yeah.
But think about this here. 1,344 hours of content a week that's being targeted to African Americans, not 1 hour of news.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting about that this morning. Why do you think it's so important to have black news sources? Well, I mean, I know why, but I want you to
Because look, Kathy Hughes coined the phrase, information is power. And when you are made aware and when you're learning things you're not getting from elsewhere, it's opening your mind to receive. You're going, whoa, I didn't realize that. Oh, I can look at that. I can do that. Oh, I didn't realize they're doing that to my vote. I didn't. Oh man, hold up. So they passed Amendment 4 in Florida, but the Florida legislature is still trying to mess around to deny formerly incarcerated folks the right to vote. How do I get informed? Too many people say, oh, I didn't know about that. Well, because what are your sources? Unfortunately for us, we are literally feeding. We have news deserts. We're literally feeding our folks nothing but award shows, entertainment, reality shows, comedy. But what is white America being fed? What now they got entertainment stuff.
Yeah.
What's that information coming from, that news coming from? And you have to have that. You have to have folks who are talking about these issues and you're not caught off guard. And not from the national level. I'm talking about, when you're watching MSNBC or CNN, I mean, yeah, occasionally you'll see our stories. No, I'm talking about every day. When you study the Chicago Defender and the Pittsburgh Courier and the Atlanta Daily World, without black newspapers, we could not have gotten through Jim Crow. That was the information power. We also own them. It's a different to say we have black targeted media, which we don't own, which means that switch could be flipped any day, and that format has changed. That show is canceled, and now it's whatever. So this is about reprogramming. You use news sources, news shows to talk about. So if you do a story on John Hope Bryant, Operation Push, where he told his young brothers, "Don't buy Nikes, buy Nike stock." That shoe will be torn up in a year, but that stock will still be appreciated.
Yeah.
Again, that's why those news sources are so valuable.
Right.
And so we have to have that.
And you think about how we cover certain stories, like even talking about this whole situation with the college admissions scandal. And we also have to think about how that affects us, just as a people. And
not even college admissions. Right here in New York City,
the high
7
schools.
black students get into this elite school. And then you're going, wait a minute, hold up, how all of a sudden? So see, what happens is college is the end of the process. Well, the problem is we're getting screwed elementary school, middle school, high school, information. You know, I got my initiatives called School Choice is the Black Choice. Folks are like, man, I can't believe you support charter schools. First of all, there's no form of education I don't support if it works for us. Public school, traditional school, private, charter, online, magnet, Montessori. I don't care. If it works, I'm down with it. But I don't support failure. So somebody said, well, man, why you down with charters? I said, so you want more black history in the high school? They're like, in school? They're like, yeah. I said, you know, if you control the charter school, you control the curriculum.
That's right.
And then I said, now you do know, you say, we need more black folks to have contracts. I said, you do know that if it's your charter, you control who gets the contracts. And they looked at me and they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. I said, you say we need more black male teachers. I said, you do know that you control the charter. You can create a program directly with HBCU to serve as a pipeline for your teachers. They said, are you serious? I said, yeah. I'm saying we fight for equity in traditional schools. But if there's a system that is allowing me to control the school, what Steve Perry is doing with Diddy in the schools, opening a new school in the Bronx, in Harlem, I'm saying I'm down with that. That's information.
Right.
So if I don't have a place to get that on a daily basis, then I don't know that. And then we're left behind.
Yeah, when you said that this morning, you were saying it in reference to Jess Hilarious. And I said the same thing when I saw the Jess video. I was like, yo, she's clearly misinformed. And I said, we live in this country that is always fear-mongering when it comes to Muslims and planting those seeds that, oh, Muslims are so bad and Muslims are terrorists. Some people buy into that if you don't know no better.
When TV One canceled News One Now, a brother sent me an email. And he said, I'm saddened by this. He said, because I would tape your show in the morning and my son and I would watch it at dinner. And we would talk about the issues you talked about. I went to Indianapolis and a girl, she was 12. And she said, I was a book signing, she said, and she wanted to meet me. And she said, I watch your show every day, my mom and my dad. Now think about that. What do you think that 12-year-old is going to be mentally when she's 20? Because she was watching a show where she saw us and it was a news show and she was learning these different things. So what then happens when it's not there? Where does that 12-year-old now go? Where does that where does that mother or father, where do they go? And so all of a sudden now it's like, well, I got to get a piece over here, and I got to get a piece over here, piece over here. That's the value of that. So this 12-year-old girl, she was seeing, and again, this is why I talk about the why it matters. She was seeing Angela Rye hosting my show before she went somewhere else. She was seeing Michael Singleton and David Swirlick and Lauren Victoria Burke and Scott Bolden, Monique Presley, Yodit Tuwelde, who's now anchor Court TV. I put on television first. Why am I saying that? They're saying about me. It's that, no, I use the platform to provide other people with voices to be able to show their expertise and their knowledge, and now they've gone to other different things. What happens when the platforms don't exist?
Absolutely.
Where do they go? And that's why this thing, man, is so deep. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it. Look, I decided at the age of 14 I was going to be a journalist. I have not changed in 36 years. And my fear is, as we are moving towards becoming a nation more majority of people of color, we are regressing in terms of black news, which means that we're going to be asking somebody else to tell our story. There's nothing more dangerous than from a group of people to have to ask somebody else to tell your narrative.
You start buying into false narratives.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do you then begin to change that? And how you begin to say, no, they said this, but here's the truth. And also, here is why it matters for us. So when we're deciding stories for Roland Martin Unfiltered, I wake up black. Now somebody at home, they real confused. They like, but you black. No. When I say I wake up black, I look at the stories of the day through a black prism. So you can be black if you worked in mainstream media. You have been conditioned to look at news from a mainstream perspective versus a black perspective. So I interned at a black newspaper, run 3 black newspapers. So for me, black magazine, black website, This is not my 12th black news experience. And so I look at something and say, well, what's the black person? When the unemployment rate comes out on the first Friday every month, I don't look at the overall unemployment rate. I instantly go, what's the black unemployment rate?
That Donald Trump is responsible for lowering.
Right.
Yeah, precisely. Even though it's gone up 4 consecutive months, and you notice he don't talk about it anymore. It was 6.0 in November, now up to 7.0. He don't use that one anymore because it's gone up 4 straight months. Yeah. But here's the piece. Where are you going to hear that the unemployment rate went up 4 consecutive months? Will you hear it on CNN, MSNBC, Bloomberg, CNBC, Fox News, Fox Business? Mm-hmm. No. And that's, again, one of those different ways you talk about how these things matter. And so it is deeply personal to me because I'm looking, everything for me is literally to 2043. What is our state of mind when we hit the point where people of color represent the majority? Are we educating ourselves, or are we allowing our children, to the point about the college admissions, then also the local schools, to where we're going to be like South Africa, where we got numbers, but we're not ready to take power? Mm. I'm all about how do you be in position to take power. And you can't take power unless you're informed, unless you're knowledgeable, unless you're educated, and unless you are aware of these different things. And that is my greatest fear. And so I'm not thinking about just today. I didn't launch my digital show just about today. I was thinking about that 12-year-old girl, because in 24 years, she's 36. And so go back to reprogramming. What will she be fed mentally for the next 24 years? Mm. If you use the food deserts as an example, it's the same thing. What is going to be put into our minds and our bodies? Because if I'm getting healthy information, valuable information, critically important stuff, now my state of consciousness is totally different using Jess than somebody who was fed all kind of other stuff that was full of mess, entertainment, laughing, jokey joke, and then you say some crazy stuff, and then you get put on blast, and it's like, yeah, look at what was fed to you. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is important right now because we are covering these nominees, people who are about to be president. So why don't you give us some of your opinions on what's been going on? We did talk about Elizabeth Warren and her town hall, but what are you thinking so far of people who have thrown their hat in the ring, who you like, who you don't like, and information we should know, and what should we be looking for?
I have no view on who I do not like. Here's why. The field is not set. Let me take people back to 2007. So this is March. If this was 2007, Obama was in the race for 1 month. He was down 20, 30 points to Hillary Clinton. He was down to Hillary Clinton in July, in August. Everything changed at a debate that was in Iowa when she messed up the question about driver's licenses for undocumented workers. So for all the folks who are getting hyped about right now, I don't. The first debate isn't until June. Mm-hmm. The second one is in July. I'm not making judgments on candidates. I'm saying, I'm looking at, what are you saying? What are you doing? Let's go back to 2016. Conventional wisdom said the two candidates who are going to rock this thing are going to be Tim Pawlenty, the governor of Minnesota, and Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin. They will likely be fighting for the nomination. Who are the first two people to drop out? Tim Pawlenty and Scott Walker. So it's really, and the only people really paying attention right now are the junkies. Okay, that's just a fact. And so for me, this is where you say, no, let me just take it all in. Let me see where folks are. People, Beto raised $6.1 million, right? But let's see how he campaigns in a national race. Let's see how you deal with that withering criticism every day. Let's see how you hold up to the scrutiny. That's what a campaign does. All talk about Joe Biden. Let me remind people, Joe ran twice before. Joe lost the nomination twice before. See, so people need to understand the purpose of a race is to run. This thing is an absolute marathon. It ain't a sprint. And so it's who can withstand the scrutiny And then as they flesh out their plans and their policies, how do they connect with voters? How do they build mobile ground game, things along those lines? That's what all matters. And so that's really how I'm approaching this whole thing.
What are you liking so far that you've heard, though? Like, what policies have nominees said that you're like, okay, I agree with that. I think that's a great idea. Anything different or unique?
I think one of the greatest criticisms I had of President Obama was in the area of housing. So what I'm looking at is what is being said. The black home ownership is at its lowest rate right now. We lost 53% of all wealth due to the home foreclosure crisis. And so what I'm looking at is, okay, to these candidates, how are you going to deal with the housing issue? Because what happened was all those homes, the distressed assets, okay, then they sold them to hedge funds who went in and bought up literally 25 and 30,000 units of housing. So we forced America now to be renting. So I'm interested in terms of, what's your housing policy? How are you going to impact that? 2013, $23.09 billion in small business loans were handed out to people in this country. Black people got $385 million. What is your plan for access to capital? How are you going to be utilizing those governmental programs to ensure that other people are involved in the process? That's the stuff that I'm looking for with these candidates, and those things speak volumes. I also really want to know who's going to talk about character. John Ward has a book on Camelot's End. I think hopefully that's it. It's about Jimmy Carter and Ted Kennedy. When Jimmy Carter ran in 1976, he ran on this piece of character. The question is, who is going to elevate themselves and say that 2020 is about character? 2020 is about integrity. Who's going to have the courage to say, I would like for my child to grow up in America where they don't have to listen to a president who lies every day? Who is going to be willing to go there? Who is going to be willing to actually say, every time Trump opened his mouth, I want to see the Democratic nominee.
I feel like all of them saying that, though. I feel like Kamala, Bernie, they all calling him a liar, a con man.
But see, I'm talking about elevating this thing to a higher level. And that is, even if you disagree with the president, they were Republican, or disagree with as a Democrat, you at least had respect for the office of the presidency.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I said on ABC in early 2017, I will never call him President Trump. Because I said until he respects the office of the president, I'm not going to respect him in the office. So the question then becomes, who elevates this thing beyond just the policies? Who elevates it to, no, this is a question of character and whether or not this nation wants a thug as president or wants somebody that people can actually look up to and respect. Donald Trump will never, ever make the list of the most respected American. Not going to happen.
Never. What do you think of Democrats speaking on reparations for black people? Do you think that's genuine, or is that they just selling us a dream because it's election time?
I think that, first, you've had Congressman John Conyers for a very long time who had H.R. 40. And all the folks who are now saying it, where were they when he had the proposal to study it? Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee has reintroduced it. So the question then becomes, to those candidates who are running, who are in the House, are you a co-sponsor? Those folks who are in the Senate, are you a co-sponsor? So you can talk about it, but there's literally a resolution that you can actually put your name on. So to me, that's really how you judge somebody. I do believe they have to answer the question because they're getting the question. But I think what has happened is people, they also too easily are falling for the trap. See, what America always does is America always goes, okay, but this is what it's going to cost. What are you going to do? Take the Green Deal. It's the exact same thing. Yeah, but it's going to cost this. Stop. You're trying to jump. This is what I said on Fox Business when I was on Charles Payne's show. You're trying to jump to D. You haven't even dealt with A. What it says is you study it. The reality is most Americans, including a lot of black people, really don't fully understand the impact of America and how it has degraded black people.
Absolutely, 100%.
So the lack of history and knowledge to understand how deep and pervasive this thing is there. And you have folks in Cobra and others, they've been talking about this, for decades. And what I try to tell folks is the question is how you're educating yourself. Because the other thing is this here. At the end of the day, you got to get votes. You got to get 218 in the House, and you got to get 60 in the Senate. But really, you got to get more than that. Because you got to get the votes. This question is, how do you actually pass it? See, so you can talk about it, but the practical piece is, how do you literally get something passed? So if the president opposes it, you're going to need 2/3 vote. So now you have to ask you the question, okay, so this candidate is not 100% where I want him or her to be, or this party is not 100% where I want him or her to be. You now have to make a political calculus as, okay, so there are two parties. Which one do I believe I am more likely to get it if it comes up for a vote? Now, I have these people out here that go, you pining for the Democrats. No, I'm actually laying out a very practical, basic, clear, undeniable fact. There are two political parties. There are only two independents in the Senate: Bernie Sanders and Angus King. That's it. So it's two parties. So if I got two parties here, where do I think I'm more than likely going to get my votes from? Black Caucus right now has 55 members. Latino Caucus with the Asian Caucus, you got more than 100 plus members. So the question then becomes, the next election will be the first time in American history less than 70% of the voting electorate will be white. So the question then becomes, as the Congress is changing and is having more color and more diversity, am I more likely to have people who are voting on that particular issue? That's the calculus that you have to make. Now, if your view is, if you don't agree to all of this, I'm checking out, well, then you actually are making your task harder because you checked out.
Because it's this thing called democracy. So if we get, which I would consider, if you get a Democrat in there, he's more likely to listen, or she's more likely to listen.
Let me use Chicago.
Yeah.
The brothers who were beaten and tortured by Commander John Burge. More than 40, and it was called reparations. More than $40 million in reparations. Okay, how did that happen? Look at the makeup of the aldermen in Chicago. Look at where the votes were. Numbers don't lie. Politics, talk to any politician. Ron Kirk, who was the mayor of Dallas, I used to love talking to Ron, who was later trade ambassador under Obama. He said, Roland, I don't give a damn what they can yell, holler, and scream all day. I count votes. He said, we can be in the council and you can be acting a fool. He said, this is what I'm doing. Let me know when you're done. He said, because I got the votes. So you have on the front end the study to inform people, to get people to understand how deep and pervasive this issue has been. The end result is it actually getting passed, or the end result getting implemented, but then it actually getting passed. But if you try to have a conversation where you want to jump through across all those different lanes, then that's what they want you to do.
Yeah.
They want the discussion to be on, you gonna get a check? Well, why should you get a check? This is how much you making on the radio.
Right.
Why should you get a check? See, they want that to be the conversation as opposed to, no. What actually happened? What's the history? How did we get to this point? Why is there a wealth gap? Why do you have those education stats? Why is it that black communities have been, in terms of being redlining, and the value of black neighborhoods are $100 billion less than others? Why are white schools, why do they get $23 billion more than schools of people of color? See, folks don't want to have those conversations. You got to walk folk through that history. This is the 400th anniversary of 29 Africans arriving in Virginia in 1619. Americans don't have a clue. You got to walk folk through that history. And so the challenge would be, who will be the candidate to explain that, as opposed to get caught into who gets a check. How much? Is it a check? Is it a direct check? Or is it community resources? That's the whole piece there.
All of that goes back to what you're saying about why we need to have our own news networks, though, because we got to teach the real history of America. Because if not, it's going to keep getting whitewashed, and they'll be like, what the hell are y'all talking about? Y'all need reparations for?
Precisely. I was on Twitter this morning, and this one guy was tweeting Jamel Hill, and he's like, I don't know what, slavery has nothing to do with the Electoral College. Dumbass, the Electoral College was a slavery compromise. I mean, it's the most unbelievable. And I'm saying that's the problem. You got people who are walking around having no clue because the reality is it's not being told. And now what we're seeing in classrooms, they now want to flip this thing where slavery was all about indentured servants and people who it wasn't too bad. I mean, that and you have to guard against that.
It's the way they asked the question, too. I saw a headline that said, why did slaves come to America?
Right. Like they went, you know what, Angela?
Be nice.
You want to go on that boat ride and go on across that ocean and go see what's happening in that country? Would you like to go ahead and get shackled, Charlamagne? You know what? I think we might go ahead and take a trip and never come back ever again. Right. Yeah. I mean, but see, that's and people who are listening to me saying, "Oh, I mean, y'all tripping." No. Those words put together in that combination matter. Mm-hmm. And that's why, man, I'm all about semantics, words, what we say, how it's said, how the question is raised, what the headline looks like, which goes to who's the executive, who's approving the headline, who's approving the story, see, that's how people understand how deep this thing is. And then it's a question of, well, who then approves this book author? The other half never told. Well, does he ever get any airtime on one of the networks? Are you going to actually have James D. Anderson on talking about the education of blacks in the South, 1860 to 1935? Are you going to have Barbara Ransby on talking about her book on Ella Baker and in terms of how you begin to mobilize folks? My backpack is out there, but what about the brother who wrote the book on Operation Breadbasket and the history we don't know about and where it came from and the 6 points of Dr. King's plan in terms of how you use your leverage to be able to get jobs. Folks don't see all of those different things. If you don't have a place that's offering that on a daily basis, you're going to walk around and you're going to see what Anderson Cooper said or what Jake Tapper said or what Ari Melber said or what was said on CBS or NBC or what Laura Ingraham said. And you're like, oh, that's it. Then you got to have somebody else who say, hey, last night Laura Ingraham said this here. That was a lie. Mm-hmm. Last night, this was said, not really true. Mm-hmm. You have to have that, and that's where the narrative comes in.
Right. What networks are the most problematic, and what networks are the best for our people?
Well, I mean, first of all, Fox News is the worst for our people because you got to remember who are they talking to. Fox News' demo are essentially white voters older than 60. Which means that for them, it's all about how America used to be.
I see Donna Brazile is going over there, right?
Right. And people need to chill the hell out. Mm-hmm. Let me explain why. I am not afraid to debate anybody. Anywhere, anytime. Candace Owens' ass been running from me for a year. Charlie Kirk been running from me. Tucker Carlson been running from me. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity been running from me from a year. So I ain't got no problem. If Fox calls... I go on Charles Payne's show on Fox Business. If Fox, I went on Megyn Kelly's show a few times, Bill O'Reilly before I joined CNN. Deal is, I have no problem going into the lion's den. For the folks who say, don't go, no. Oh, I'm going to go. Because, see, I believe, give me your best shot. And then when we debate this thing out, and when I whoop your ass, the audience is now going to be watching. I don't know who I'm talking to. I might hit somebody who go, now damn, what he just said. Let me go look up what he just said.
Yeah.
So if I never hear that.
You're bringing some light into the darkness.
That's right. So why am I afraid to go over there? And so folks are condemning Donna. No. I ain't got a problem. Matter of fact, hi, Donna. Jamu Green, I think, is still there. Santita Jackson is still there. Other folks, I got no problem. And somebody, I guarantee you, somebody watching right now going, oh, you trying to get a check? No, I'm trying to fight fire with fire. Iron sharpens iron. What I'm saying is, y'all think y'all got the truth? Fine, let's do battle. That's what the heart of debate is. It's not running from it. Now, the Democrats said we're not going to hold debate on Fox. I got no problem with that because the Republicans did not hold a debate on MSNBC. But Donna or anybody else black, hell yes, go on and debate them. Black Caucus members, blow up every show on Fox News and say, put me on because I'm about to bring the funk.
All right.
That's how we have to be. We can't be afraid to swing on somebody. Man, I was at the Republican National Convention in 2012. I was surrounded by about 10 Tea Partiers. And I was like, my man Neo in the Matrix. I like this here. What you got? Boom, nope. Boom, nope. Boom, nope. Look at the video out of the White House, all them black folks in their red MAGA hats. There's about 7 of them. This was me right here. What you got? That's a lie. Boom. Bruh. I was sitting there handling. That's how you do it, because you don't know who's listening. There were people who saw that video of me smacking Candace and little people around the White House who were like, damn, man, they were real loud. They were saying some stuff, and I was kind of with them, but you said some stuff I didn't know about.
Yeah.
That's why you swing. That's why you go say, no. I'm going to sit in here. The key is, long as you bring your integrity and your character and your honor and your truth to the table, then we can go.
So what's the platform we should be watching to get our news?
Well, easy. Roland Martin Unfiltered every day.
Hey.
Every day.
Right.
And again, we stream the show Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. We restream it multiple times. But the thing is, again, we are dealing with stuff. And it's not just even with the Daily Show. We're also live streaming events. Melody Campbell had Black Women's Roundtable. They had their conference for the last 5 days. We live stream most of the conference. We're going to places. I was in L.A. Friday. Execute America had this major education initiative. We did a live show from there. So it's the Daily Show, the news show, but we also are bringing you events that mainstream media not covering. And that's the other piece as well. And so we've got, it's been great. We've been averaging about 10 million views a month on all the different platforms. We haven't bought one ad. We haven't boosted anything. It's been all organic. We've taken our YouTube membership from 170,000 to 285,000. It's been growing. But what I also, and we got about 1,500 people who join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to have 20,000 by September. And we've got people who are giving $5, who's giving $10, $50. I had a 92-year-old black woman from Long Island send my office a letter. She said, I used to watch you on TV One. My daughter follows you because she plays golf. And she said, your voice is so important. We need you teaching our people. And she says, and then closes a $500 check.
Wow.
Nice.
A 92-year-old black woman. I was reduced to tears, blown away by it, because she said, why your voice matters. And so folks can go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com to get more information, to join our fan club. And I keep saying this, how we also have to fund our freedom. See, so we can't keep expecting corporate America to fund our HBCUs. We can't keep expecting somebody else, they got to advertise it. No. We also have to put our dollars where our mouth is, because, again, the people who join our fan club, it's no different if you get a magazine subscription or subscribe to a black newspaper. What we are trying to do is empower our people and then also elevate our voices who are not going to get on. Dr. Greg Carr is brilliant. Not a single network calls him. I want you to think about that. Brilliant head of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Not a single cable or broadcast network will call him. He's on every single week. Spencer Overton, Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, our black political think tank. Okay, same thing. So we are sitting here every day saying we're going to elevate our voices and give people a shot. And so I want folks to again go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, make it happen, because we have to control the narrative, own the narrative, and set the agenda, and not let somebody else set it.
My man Roland Martin, that's a great way to end. Thank you for coming, my brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Roland.
Thanks a bunch. Good seeing you.
It's the Breakfast Club.